tension, based on real events. I live in the Talas region of Kyrgyzstan. This happened 2 years ago. My brother had just bought a new house and threw a big housewarming. Family everywhere, food piled high, everyone loud and happy. Close to midnight, my sister said, "My old classmate lives on the street. Let's say hi." I agreed. It was almost 11 p.m. The night was warm and still. We were chatting about nothing when, 10 paces ahead, we noticed a woman with a child standing in the shade. It didn't seem odd until the woman lunged toward us. I grabbed my sister's hand on instinct. My sister tried, "Good evening?" But the woman said nothing, coming straight at us fast, almost running, her face bloodless and too calm. We turned and ran. As we passed under a streetlight, it flickered out for a heartbeat and the air filled with the smell of wet ash and iron, as if something nearby was still smoldering. Behind us came a short, tinny child's giggle and 3 quick footsteps, right on our heels. At my brother's gate, he met us, breathless, and we blurted the whole thing. He went to check. No one there. On the ground, narrow, wet prints that ended at the gate, never reaching the road. On my sister's sleeve was a gray handprint the size of a child's, like soot. The next day we learned that the spot where we'd seen the woman was the lot of a house that burned down years ago. A woman and her child had lived there. People say they didn't make it out, and sometimes they come back. That night our window got 2 soft taps, like a knuckle on glass. My phone froze at 3:03, and a draft slid through the room though every window was shut. Since then, we don't visit my brother's place after dark. And I still don't like stepping outside at night. I can't forget her face. Flat and voiceless like a mask. And the way her eyes looked through us, as if we were the ones not really there. Next scary story. Last winter in my hometown, Kestrel Creek, Montana, my cousin asked me to walk her home. Between our houses, there's a wide, abandoned field. As we crossed it, I asked why she always hated this way. She said very quietly, "Something walks out here, looks like a goat, but it isn't a goat." I laughed it off. Nobody keeps livestock here in winter. I dropped her at her door and headed back alone. Halfway across, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. In the middle of the field stood a gray goat. Too tall, matted coat. Eyes that didn't seem to belong to a living animal. I called out, it didn't move. I kept walking. The steps started again. First the crisp clack of hooves. Then, somehow, the thud of heavy boots on crusted snow. I spun around and it was running upright, hind legs under it, hoofs flashing, but the gait was human. I bolted. I hit a glassy patch, went down hard, and yelled. A neighbor who'd been working on his truck hauled me up and walked me home. "Probably just shadows," he said. That evening my grandmother shook her head. "County hauled off the old altar stone from that field years ago," she said. "They took the rock. The place stayed." At 3:03 a.m., my phone froze for a heartbeat. Something knocked 3 times on the window, polite, knuckle-soft. The hall filled with the smell of wet wool and iron, and a faint line of frost drew a half-moon on the glass from the inside before fading. At first light, I went back with the neighbor. In the snow, we found a chain of crescent prints that faced the wrong way, like the hooves had walked backward, and then simply stopped in the open. Later that day, standing at my cousin's gate, I noticed 3 hair-thin scratches on the wood, like something had tested the grain with a fingertip. That night, long after midnight, I heard steps again, close and patient, pacing the field where the altar stone used to stand. I don't cut across that lot anymore, and if I hear footsteps in an empty field, I don't turn around. Out here, some things learn how to change their sound before they change their shape. Next scary story. My brother Alex and I rode our motorcycles out to Pine Hollow, Colorado, to visit our Aunt Linda. Daylight, easy roads, no trouble. We parked in her yard, drank tea, talked forever. By the time we noticed the dark, it was late. She begged us to stay. We said we'd make it back fast. Past town, the streetlights died. County Road 318 went black except for our beams, the San Juan foothills shouldering the right side of the world. Alex led, I hung back. 2 cars passed us going the other way. Then nothing. The wind thinned out, like someone turned the world's volume down. In my helmet there was static, and then a steady whisper, "You're coming, right? We don't own helmet comms." The first wrong thing happened at the old bridge. My phone flashed 303 and stalled. The center line doubled, like the road was laying itself over us. From the right shoulder came a hoof clack, and then heavy bootsteps right beside the asphalt. A shadow ran the wrong way through the headlight wash. For one bright blink, something upright on hind legs crossed the beam with a human stride. Alex flashed his brake light. "Watch it." A woman and a child stepped into my low beam. Bone-pale faces that didn't blink, hair plastered flat like it was wet. They didn't look at our lights. They just crossed and vanished, cut out of the night. Where their feet fell, the wet blacktop showed crescent prints. Each one turned backwards. I twisted the throttle. Behind my head, something knocked 3 polite times on my helmet, knuckle soft, and my hands almost betrayed me. We hit mile 19. A few seconds later, mile 19 again. Its sign rhymed white with a fresh dark streak where a wet sleeve might have brushed. Alex's bike radio flipped to AM 1230 on its own and started counting to 13, whispering, then back to 1. The air filled with the smell of wet wool and iron. In my mirror, a thin shape crouched on my pillion like it wanted a ride, and a sickle of frost bloomed on the inside of my visor. We gunned it and broke onto US 160 where the lights and noise made the world normal again. When we killed the engines at Aunt Linda's, the silence we'd been outrunning finally caught up. A slow release, like a road exhaling. 3 fine scratches ran straight across my tank, parallel as if made by a single nail. On my jacket, a small gray handprint, ashlight, no bigger than a child's. Next morning the neighbor said, "There used to be a memorial cross by that bridge. Family burned in a van. County took the cross. The place stayed. We don't ride that way after dark anymore. And when I hear footsteps on an empty highway, I keep my eyes forward. Out here, some things learn to change their sound before they change their shape." Thanks for watching until the next scary stories.